Hey guys, welcome back to Play Retro. In today's video, I'm going to share with you guys 10 tips for brand new owners of the RG35XX Plus. I know there's a lot of you out there who this is probably your first retro handheld, and I want to give you guys some tips that'll help you out and hopefully get you up and running. So tip number 0. It's usually we start with tip number 1, but this is tip number 0 because it's technically not a tip, but it's something I want you to do if you just got this thing. I want you to go boot up your device, and I want you to head into settings, and I want you to go all the way down to IO test. And then in here, I just want you to test all your inputs, every last thing. Check the D-pad, make sure everything's being registered. You got nice full circles, do it the other way. Looks pretty good. Now check the action buttons, A, B, X, Y. Do it multiple times, A, B, X, Y. L1, L2, R1, R2. Make sure everything's good. Make sure it works. Start, select, start, select, start, select. Menu, 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 menu. Okay. Volume up, volume up, volume up, volume down. Volume down, volume down, volume down. Make sure everything works. Every last thing. And then also check the buttons that are not included. So you've just tested the power button by powering this off. Now I want you to click this button right here. This is known as your reset button. I want you to click this, and this should reboot your device. And then if that's good, now I want you to check the other ports. I want you to check this, check if it charges. Plug this into a charger and see if you get charging. And then I want you to test this right here, your audio jack. Make sure everything works. So let's get out of this. I want you to press start and select to exit the test. And then I want you to check for sound, the speaker, and the 3.5mm headphone jack. So in this example, I'm gonna use this game right here, Ghosts and Goblins for GBC. Let's go ahead and get into this game. So right now, make sure the volume is up. So see, speaker sounds pretty good. And now, I want you to grab your headphones, if you already have a pair of headphones, and just insert that in here, and just check if it sounds the way it's supposed to. So unpause this. So yeah, once you've made sure everything's good, just exit out the game. After you exit out the game, the box this comes with, I want you to hold on to this just in case anything goes wrong. Just keep this in a safe spot and just hold it till the return period is over. So if I hope you bought this like off a reputable seller, something like Amazon. They give you 30 days to return something if something goes wrong, or if you have a warranty. If anything goes wrong, you can just bring it back and you still have the box. You can just put everything back in and just send it back and get another unit if you want to. So now on to tip number 1, getting familiar with your handheld. So when you're in the main menu, I want you to just look through all the options you have. First is your game rooms. Then is RA game. These are your main 2 game rooms where you're actually go into games. Then you have a favorites list, and that looks something like this. And then you have a history. This is created automatically depending whatever game you play. So if you can see here, you'll also have a search area where you can just look for games. Let's say you like Mega Man, and then you'll get all these options right here, whatever's included on your device, course. And then you have a settings menu. This is important as well. There's some nice things you can do in here. I will go into it a little bit later in this video. The main 2 things you really want to be worried about is your games room. There are your different systems. Pick your system, pick your game, whatever that is. For this example, we're going to use this game, Advance Wars 1. And then I want to show you this real quick, is your actual menu, but your actual in-game menu, and what options you have. You have exit game, you have save game, you have load game, you have restart game, And then you have a few things you might want to change in here. First, I would definitely recommend you change it to aspect. And then this is a display effect. It's basically a video filter. I personally have it to dot matrix, but it should be set to HD by default. I don't like HD. It basically erases pixels and kind of smooths things. So if you don't like pixels, you should leave it at HD, but I like dot matrix. And then this is the aspect ratio of the screen for GBA. This is better because it's the correct ratio it's supposed to be, versus how it is defaulted is actually full screen, and it stretches the image a little bit. So it's really personal preference, but do what you want, you know? And then you do have brightness controls in here if you want. You can change that as well, which is nice. But you can do that with a shortcut, which I'll show you here. You can just press menu plus volume up and volume down. Tip number 2 is not actually on the handheld, but it's in this paper that is actually inside your box, which is the game manual. I want you to actually go through this game manual and read the whole thing. It goes over a lot of important things, the main interface, what everything does. Let's see here, all the buttons. It shows you how to do a 2-card setup if you're interested in doing that. I do have a tutorial on how to do this if these instructions are a little bit confusing. It also shows you what the LED indicators mean. Green means working, red means low power, and yellow means charging. And then you have your RetroArch or RA game shortcuts. These are hotkey combos. So you press the menu plus this combination and you do an action. Most important are save state, load state, fast forward, and probably quit. Pause and quit. Most important ones. And then obviously the brightness. The brightness, I think I already showed you that. Press the menu and then up or down for the volume keys. It also shows you how to do online play with 2 consoles. If you happen to have a friend who has the same device, it's relatively easy. Here are the instructions. So yeah, I just want you to hold on to this. Ideally, I would like you to take pictures of this just in case you lose this paper. It's just nice to have. And just keep that in a safe spot so you don't lose this. This is pretty valuable, at least for the stock firmware. Tip number 3, use the correct charger. Inside your box, you will find this little box, and this will have a USB-C to USB-A cable. And I'm really not a fan of this cable. Like, yeah, it works, but it's kind of cheap, it smells bad, and it's pretty short. So this is about, I would say, 3 feet. It's definitely not going to charge from like your desk to like your outlet. This is really designed to be charged from like a PC or like a laptop, which is pretty good. But I personally would not use this. I would use my own USB-C cable. So I do have an example here. I just have a 6-foot cable, quality cable that is actually able to do data transfer and stuff like that. And then I have the appropriate charging brick. This is so important. I can't tell you how many people actually destroy their devices by using the wrong charger. I want to give you guys a very stern warning. Do not plug this into a fast charger. You will destroy your device. So please do not do that. Unless you're intentionally trying to destroy your device, do not plug this into a fast charger. You will destroy the battery. These devices are not smart enough to tell the charger the correct voltage and ampage it needs to charge. Use the correct charger. From Embernic directly, they recommend a 5-volt 1.5 amp charger. I actually use a 5-volt 1 amp charger, which is actually a little bit lower. It's even slower charger, and these are easier to find than the 1.5. So I will leave links in the description below for both chargers. You can also use an old Apple charger, the little cubes. Those are perfect. Those are 1 amp, 5 volts. They'll work fine. But yeah, please use the correct charger. The next tip I have for you is to flash your own SD card. So the SD card this actually comes with will look something like this. A generic 64 gig or 128 gig SD card. And these micro SD cards are very prone to failure. That means they're very likely to die on you out of nowhere. You can't really trust these cards. So at the very least, I would back up this SD card and have an image on your computer just in case something happens to this one. But I do highly recommend you flash your own SD card. It does require a little bit of tinkering. You have to do some stuff on the computer. It's really not that hard. I do have a tutorial on my channel on how to do that. This is the card I have in my device. It's a Samsung Pro Endurance 128 gigabyte micro SD card. And this card is probably a million times more reliable than this generic card right here. So yeah, this should be one of the first things you actually do for your device. Make sure you flash a new SD card. I know it's a process. I know most people just want to plug and play. I understand that, but if you want to have fun long term, consider doing this. It's pretty important so you don't run into any issues. And also, I do want to mention this, the orientation of how this is actually inserted. First of all, you'll see here you have two slots on your device. You have TF1 INT, that means internal, and this is where your operating system goes. And then TF2 external, this is where your games will go if you're using a 2-card setup. For this example, I just use a 1-card setup. It's a 128 gigs, and this is more than enough space for my needs. So yeah, I do want to note the orientation of how this goes. It goes like this with the pins facing you. So it is inverted. So tip number 5 is to customize your handheld. I do have a guide on my video on how you can actually change the boot logo. If you don't like this amber nick, which you'll see right now, you can change this little splash screen. If you don't like this, you can't change the second one, but you can change the first one. If you don't like that, I have a guide on my channel on how to change the boot logo, so you guys can have a different boot image. It's really not that hard. So if you want to customize your handheld, I do want you to go into settings, and then there's 2 options you can change in here to customize your handheld. First is icon settings. I want you to click that, and you're going to see a bunch of different options. You have 9 different options in here. I do like the default. I think it looks good, but there's definitely a few other different options in here. I do like number 4 as well, is nice. Some Angry Birds in here. This is kind of confusing. I don't know how you're gonna even tell which one's which, but yeah, if you like any of these other ones, you can definitely change them. They're not all that pretty, but you know, some people might like this one, some people might like the other one. You also can change your background. You have 4 options in here. You have this one that has like creatures in the back. You can have all black. You can have this kind of like airship over like some sort of city or area, and you have this green kind of bamboo. I don't know. I personally like the default is fine, but yeah, that's what you can change. Plus the boot logo. Tip number 6 is if these menu sounds bother you. You don't like this, it sounds like a droplet. I know it's not for everybody, but you can actually turn them off. You want to go into your settings menu, go down to button sound. By default, it's going to be set to open. You're going to click it and just set it to close. Then once you exit out of that, it's quiet. So yeah, I personally like it open, but for the people that don't like this, you can turn it off. So tip number 7 is to actually just add your own favorite games. So as you can see in here, you might see a bunch of games that are not pre-installed on the default SD card. So yeah, just add your own games, add your favorite games in here. Use this device to its full potential. Relive your childhood. Add the games that you've always wanted to play into this device. It's relatively easy. All you have to do is turn this off, take out the SD card, put it on your computer using a micro SD card reader, and then inside you'll find folders labeled ROMs. Go into the ROMs and you'll see every single system in here, and then go into that system and just add your games. So for my next tip, I would like you to consider getting a case. So these devices are pretty fragile and you want to protect them. I know you spent a good amount of money on this. You probably don't want it to break. So I do recommend you pick up a case. This is the actual one you get from Ambernick directly. This is for an RG35XX, but this will work fine for a RG35XX Plus, as you can see in here. And then you have nice space. You have a little pocket here. You can put your headphones. microfiber cloth to clean the screen, maybe a SD card reader. Anything you want, you can put in here. I do also want you guys to consider applying the screen protector. It will help from prevent scratches and stuff. I personally don't like the way it fits, but you can find correct screen protectors online for a 4x3 screen. So look into that if you want. But yeah, protect your device. For my next tip, it's not so much tip as it is a warning. Please do not mess with RetroArch too much. If you go into here and you start messing with RetroArch, you are very likely to break something. So just please don't mess with RetroArch so much, especially on the system. Just leave things alone. The less settings you change, in my opinion, the better, because from what I've seen, RetroArch is very easy to break. So please do not change too much settings. My next tip is related to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It's just a reminder to turn these settings off. Bluetooth, if you turn this on by default, when you power this device on, it will stay on. So it's going to be draining your battery if you're not using it. I would recommend just remember to turn it off. The same thing applies for Wi-Fi. So please remember to do that stuff. My next tip is to just stick to the current firmware. I know there's other firmwares available right now. I'm using the very first one, to 2023 1108, November 8th firmware, the very first one. Honestly, from what I've seen, from the things I'm hearing, this is still the best version, the best firmware available right now. Even though Anbernic has released newer versions, I still wouldn't recommend them. Newer does not always mean better. They might fix a couple things, but they'll break other things. So please, in my opinion, just stick to the first firmware and you should be all right. But for my next tip, I want you to know the best way to actually use these devices. So these will come preloaded with lots of games. Even if you put your own games, you're gonna have a lot of games. Create a favorites list in here on games you really want to focus on. That way you're not overwhelmed with that many options of playing. So one of the first things you should do is just go into these games, pick out some games you want to play, favorite the ones you want to play. I would do maybe like 10 or even less than 10 and just focus on those games, because it's very easy to just be overwhelmed with the amount of games you have in here. Use the favorites menu. That way you can focus on the games you actually want to play. One last bonus tip I want to share with you guys is this does have a sleep functionality. If you do press the power button here, you'll see the light is on, but the screen is off. And this is your sleep mode. However, I highly recommend you do not use this, because all this sleep mode does is it just turns off the display. It's not really like throttling the CPU or anything, so it's going to drain your battery pretty fast. You'll notice if you leave this in sleep mode, the next time you try to use it, there's a good chance this thing's going to be dead. So in my opinion, just don't use the sleep mode whatsoever. When you're done using it, save and just power off the device. That's my advice for you guys. So yeah, my last tip is just consider getting a Bluetooth controller and a mini HDMI cable to HDMI to really experience this thing at its full potential, playing this on the big screen. Here I have Street Fighter Third Strike for the Dreamcast, and I'm going to show you how that looks. This is too crazy, too much fun. And yeah, all those systems that are not handhelds are gonna look so much better on the big screen. The way they were meant to be played. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna just stop it right here. This is just to show a little demo of what this thing's actually capable of, and it's just how fun this thing really is at its full potential. Using this little controller, playing all your console games on the big screen, even the handhelds but I do recommend you play the actual consoles on the big screen, the way they were meant to be played. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up this video. 10 tips for you new owners, and maybe some tips for you guys that already have had this for a little while. But I want to hear from you guys though. Let me know in the comment section below what tips I might have missed, your tips for other people and stuff like that. If this video helped you out, definitely consider dropping a like, subscribe for more content. I'll see you in the next video. And as always, thank you for watching.